Coach, you've gone into fall camp here with a clear #1 starter at quarterback. You've had other years where there was a competition going on. What do you like about this situation? What's the advantage of this situation, having one named before camp?
I think the advantage is just clear direction in the summer to foster leadership in the locker room. There's more of a consistent voice than trying to have two guys that are battling for the position and for leadership. So this gives us some direction for us to have leadership throughout the course of the summer, so that we can, so the offense can gel, the team can gel. So when we hit the grass, we're not trying to make up that time.
Coach, I think this was probably the first time since I've been here when I looked out at the O-line group and there was two large groups.
Yes.
The first kind of projected first team kind of split. How does it feel to have that this year? And what have you seen already from that group in that first time?
It's just great to have competition, and then now we can practice the way that we need to practice with the tempo we need to practice at, and we can have true competition. We can move guys up and down, give them an opportunity to have reps with different working groups to figure out what the best combination is. And so, the best thing was to see that we were able to not have to slow practice down to be able to compete. Whereas in years past, when you're down offensive linemen, it's hard to get two full groups, and we're trying to rep 3. Because we got a lot of depth at other positions too, and so it was just awesome to be able to, and then to know too that from an individual standpoint, you don't have to taper any of those periods. That you can get the actual fundamental work that you need in preparation for the competitive stuff. So it's just fun to be able to go out and practice at the tempo that we want to practice at.
Along the same lines at running back, there's a lot of veterans with carrying the ball in games, and Harrison, Jamari, and Xavier, of course. How much better are you guys at that position, especially when you look back at how you ended last season, having to start Noah and then move Chris to running back? How much better are you guys feeling going into the season at running back?
You like the fact that you do have experience. However, Harrison's day one in our system. Jamari's got the 15 practices, and I'm excited about Noah too, because his experience at the end of the year is gonna pay off here in camp. So it's just, like I said, to have depth, to be able to go out and practice and know that you're not necessarily going to be slowed down because you don't have bodies, and it's day one. The guys are excited to be out there. Great effort. We need a little bit better precision, but that's our job as coaches to help them with that throughout the course of camp.
Yeah, it's year 4 for Dez as well. Just how have you seen him kind of adapt and change as a play caller over the last 4 years? I mean, he's been doing it for a while, but just in these last 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta, as a play caller, you always have to adapt to the identity of each offensive unit that you have. And man, Lord knows he's had to adapt a lot, especially with just the challenges that we've had up front from a depth standpoint and a consistency standpoint. So it's been fun to watch him, kind of turn it over to the players, right? Because as a coach, when you're down depth and you're always trying to find the best way to put them in position, man, it's a little bit more challenging. You want to control it as much as you can to try and help the players. But when you have depth, and you can turn the reins over to the players a little bit more. So it's been fun to watch him just kind of let those guys have input, let those guys have some free reign with it. And it's also, you see him relax a little bit more just from the standpoint of feeling like you don't have to be perfect on every play call. And I've been there before, and that's very challenging when you're trying to be perfect on every single play call. So it's just been fun to watch him, kind of turn it over a little bit to the players. And really, that's when you're at your best, is when your coordinator is free and he's calling it, and your players are able to go execute it. And then in some situations, they're able to make you right. And I think in order for them to make you right, then they got to have, the right flexibility and freedom within the system to make you right.
Mike and Sean.
Flipping to the other side of the ball, it's been a revolving door at corner really since you've been here.
Yeah.
You got, I think, 9 new guys in the secondary. How do you feel about that group, and how do you feel about that position in your program? Because it does seem a lot of turnover.
And that's the one position where we probably have been the most consistent with an all-ACC player. on the back end, but we've also been challenged with depth, very similar to the offensive line. And really hated to see Dre and Jam go down, because that would have been, veterans returning that have experience. And so yes, we do have many guys coming in the door, but they don't necessarily have experience in our system. So we got to get them up to speed. But with the amount of guys that we brought in and the versatility, I think it's going to give us some flexibility and some depth for competition, so that guys don't have to play. I mean, Jonas, love Jonas to death, but he was playing way too many snaps, and we know it and he knows it. But fortunately, he was durable and he was able to do it, and he was built to play, over 100 snaps a game. But you think about that, 100 snaps a game between defense and special teams, that you can't keep that up. So just like the fact that we got some versatility, flexibility to be able to stay a little bit fresher, have good competition, and then hopefully that gives us the depth that we need for the length of season that we play.
Coach, right here, looking at your roster, a lot of players from the Metro Richmond area is on this year's group. Can you walk me through the process of when, I guess, you decided maybe to become more aggressive with the recruiting in the 804? And was this a gradual increase of that, or just walk us through that?
Yeah, so from day one, I've said, man, I want to do it inside out. I want to do it with the best players from the state of Virginia. And it's just taken us a little bit of time to make inroads and to reestablish relationships. Because high school recruiting is still about relationships. You got to have a relationship with the high school coach, the administrators in the school, the other coaches on the staff, and then also with the players and their families. And so obviously with the proximity, we're able to get there, a little bit easier than maybe some other places in the state, more frequent. That kind of fits our schedule, and usually when you get one or two, it kind of opens up the door to many more, and then they can do the recruiting for you. Because at the end of the day, the best recruiters are the players. Right, the players in your locker room, and then the recruits that you're recruiting. And so just excited to see that, we're slowly starting to turn the tides in the state. Man, I want all the best players in the state. If you've noticed it from day one, man, I got here, I went and saw the best players in the state. Now, they were way down the road with some of the other schools, so it was kind of all for naught. But since then, we've made a run at the top players in the state, and what you're seeing now, I think, is we're making it to the end of the conversation a little bit more with the best players in the state, and I want to build a program, and that's what we're working towards, to where the best players in the state have to tell me why they have to leave our state to go somewhere else, because I believe that educationally there's nowhere else you can go out of state to get a better education than what you can get here. And what we're building, the facilities we have, the investments we made in nutrition, right? I believe with the product we're going to put on the field this year, and you see the improvements, I think it's going to be a compelling argument. Now, at the end of the day, young men and their families got to do what they believe is best for them, but I just want to create a space where they don't feel like they have to go anywhere else to get everything that they want.
Jeff.
This was the first practice for your second wave of transfers.
Yep.
A lot of those guys are in their final year of eligibility. What is the key to getting them up to speed, knowing that the clock is ticking?
Yeah, we got to maximize every minute of every day, especially during fall camp when you don't have the restrictions on time. We need to maximize, and then the coaches got to do a great job of simplifying as much as they possibly can, and then the guys got to take ownership of doing their part. The beautiful thing about the way we structure, especially in particular on defense, because of defensive football, we get so many reps between walkthrough, pre-practice, and the game. So it's an opportunity for those guys to get up to speed, and in particular those guys on the back end that just came in here. But we got to simplify, keep it as simple as possible, but also stay complex enough to be effective schematically. But we got to maximize every single minute with these guys.
Tony, you said at the end of last season that you thought the major difference between your program and Virginia Tech was depth. And now that you've been able to do this work in the portal, do you feel like you can match up not only with your rival, but most of the other teams in the ACC in terms of playable depth?
We're hopeful. We're very hopeful. We feel like we targeted the right guys. We addressed some needs that we had from a body type standpoint, some length, some speed at specific positions, but in particular, in the trenches, I feel like we added depth, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to compete. And man, I tell the staff all the time, especially the defensive side of the ball, man, I want us to look like the other teams that we play against, because it seems like every offensively, every defense we play against, man, they're rolling 8, 12 defensive linemen through, okay? And they're all different body types and whatnot, but when you have that kind of depth, it makes a difference. So I'm very hopeful. Now we got to stay healthy, and we have to get that depth up to speed and make sure that it's competitive depth. So the key now for us is we feel like we got the bodies in place. We got to do a great job as a staff to make that competitive depth. And if we can do that, then I think we'll have an opportunity to be competitive against the teams that we play.
Jackie and Mike.
Donovan Platt was one of the guys that came in the second wave. What drew you to him, and what have you seen so far?
You watch him on film. He's a physically, he plays the game the right way. Showed the skill set that you need at corner. Obviously, coming from Service Academy, the type of young man that he is, and then you have a chance to meet his mom and dad. And to see the type of household that he comes from, it feels like it's just a natural fit for what we're doing from a program standpoint. And then, man, we love the ones that love us back, right? That's a big thing, in this day and age. And I think he was looking for an environment like this. And if you know Platt, he was very strategic. He was very intentional. He knew exactly what he was looking for, and I'm just thankful that it married up the right way. But outstanding young man. He's already come in and shown some leadership. The guys respect what he's been through and what he was doing prior to coming here, and I think they appreciate that leadership that he's going to bring.
The cliche is always how you look getting off the bus. You've got guys who look like ACC football players getting off the bus. You mentioned the depth. Are you surprised at all that it took you this long to get the program to where you are with depth and with talent and size? I
knew that we were trying to build something here, and that it would take time. But could I foresee what happened, after the first year? I mean, you can't foresee that. And to be honest, at that point, I was concerned about building the program, but really I was concerned about, bringing the ones that were here kind of back from something that's unthinkable. But I'm just grateful that, Dr. Williams, the administration, saw, I think, the value that our staff can bring to the institution and invested at this time for us to be able to bring players in. So I knew it was going to be a build, and that's what I was looking for. I think if you followed me throughout my my career progression, I always said that when I transitioned to the head coaching seat, I wanted to build something, and I wanted to build it my way, right, the way that I believed that it should be built. The other thing is, I knew that there were going to be some changes in the landscape. I didn't anticipate it was going to change this drastically, this fast, but we had to adapt, right? And everybody adapts different, but I'm very, very grateful to be kind of on this side of it where we are now, to be, like you said, I feel like we're starting to look the part, right? We're starting to sound the part, and I think the guys are really believing, that we are the part and that we belong. And we got a lot of work to do. It's just day one. We got to become a team. We got to foster great leadership, and then we got to make sure that everybody is fully committed to the task at hand. But I'm very grateful to be where we are, but also very appreciative of what it's taken to get here, right? And very, very grateful of the staff. Man, I don't think that they get the credit that they deserve. Like, obviously, as the leader of the program, you go through a tragedy like we did, everybody's going to focus on you. But, man, it wasn't me. It was the staff, right? The staff and the guys in the locker room. And for them to want to stay, man, you think about in our society, man, the easiest thing to do is to what? Pack your bags and run and find easy and greener pastures. But, man, the staff is chosen to stay because they believe in this institution. They believe in the philosophy and the mission of the program. They believe in these young men, and they want to be a part of building something as well. So I'm extremely grateful for the trust of the staff to want to be here. Right? There are several that had opportunities to leave. right, for quote unquote greener pastures, but they decided and chose to stay here, and that means a lot to me. So I got a lot of appreciation and gratitude going into to this program for where we are, and then also confirmation that we're doing the right things, that we're headed in the right direction, and we're building it the right way.
Hi, so first day of camp done. With this new depth, what can the players do during camp to show you that they're going after those starting positions?
And they got to compete every single day. They got to show up, right? So day two's got to be better than day one. They also got to make sure that they do everything off the field to take care of their bodies from a nutrition standpoint, from a hydration standpoint, from a sleep standpoint, from a recovery standpoint, so that they're available, right? The biggest thing is if guys can stay available, the competition will be there every single day, and then they'll sort it out. Right, whenever you have competition, the players sort it out. They know at the end how the competition, how it went, and how it needs to be structured on the back end. But the biggest thing is they need to stay available so that we can have that competitive depth day in and day out. And I told them today when I walked in the team meeting, I said, just take a second and take an inventory of how you feel right now. Right, you guys have been waiting for this all offseason to get to this day. Now the key is, can tomorrow feel the same way, and day 3 feel the same way, and day 4, so that we can put in the work necessary, right? Because today's the best they're going to feel, right? It's all downhill from a physical feeling standpoint. The body's going to start hurting. They're going to be tired, right? We got some that are still in school that don't get out until the 8th of August. So, and we're about to grind them up. It's all ball all day long. They're going to eat some dinner, probably watch some more film, and then they're going to be right back here in the morning and do the same thing. It's going to be like the Twilight Zone. But if they can bring that energy every single day, then you know what? We'll put in the work necessary, and then each day we'll just be stacking good days and consistency so that we're prepared when our first game comes.
Greg and Preston.
Yeah, your veteran linebackers, Cam Robinson, James Jackson, even Trey McDonald, when you're bringing in as many pieces as you guys had on the defensive line and in the secondary, how much can those linebackers make you right and get that defense correct with so many new faces?
Oh, man, with their experience, right, and their ability, if you can keep the double teams off of them, they can make a lot of plays. And that's what great D-lines do. They make plays, they're disruptive, but they also command those double teams, which allow your linebackers to go make plays. So if you let James and you let Cam run free, man, they're gonna make a lot of plays, right? Just with their athleticism and their experience. But if you don't have the depth, right, and you can't command double teams, then man, they got to do a lot. And teams are too good, right? If they can get up to your second level with ease, right, to your backers. I mean, I don't care how good your linebackers are. It's very, very hard for them to make a ton of plays if you don't make it more challenging for offensive lines to get up to the second level. And that's what I'm hopeful for. And then also, too, they can make an impact in the passing game and underneath coverage, especially if your edge guys can force the quarterback to get the ball out a little bit quicker, right? We don't need to see, 3.5, 3.7, man. We need that ball out in 2 point. We need to force the ball out in 2.8. Which gives us a chance to make some plays on the back end too.
I think you talked about the running backs earlier. Xavier Brown is someone that y'all admitted in the spring that you probably going back looking through the film, he didn't get as many touches as you wanted him to. How do you just kind of keep the body, physically healthy? I know that's the key to it, but also just highlight him.
Right. So this off season, summer strength and conditioning is key. Try to get the body as physically strong and conditioned for the duration. I think depth helps with that because then now in practice, right, you got depth, and so you can kind of distribute the load. And that also allows you to have other guys prepared and ready to go, i.e. competitive depth. He's got to do a great job with using all the resources that we have here to make sure that he keeps his body in the optimal condition. And then the other thing, too, is when you're not having to be perfect every single play, I think you can be a little bit more creative, a little bit more flexible, and find ways to really go attack matchups. When you're having to compensate for, not having the matchup advantage, man, it's very, very difficult, and you're a little bit less creative so to speak. But when you don't have necessarily glaring matchup disadvantages for you, and you have some advantages, man, you can go be a little bit more flexible and creative. And I was very fortunate in my years as a play caller to have, some considerable matchup advantages, which, makes it a little bit easier for you to, be creative, think outside the box, and take a chance, because then now you know that you might have an eraser somewhere that can make you right. But when you don't have an eraser, all right, it's and then the other thing for X too, I think, and that word brought that to my mind, is he's got to see himself as an eraser. And an eraser makes things right, but also what an eraser does is he keeps himself from getting hit. Right, and the great backs, that's what they do. They erase plays by making the offensive line right, and then they also know how to protect themselves. And so it's just a maturation process with him too, and that's what we're trying to get him to kind of evolve his game to as well, of being an eraser. And then we got to do a better job of being more creative, which hopefully this year we will.
Finish with Jackie, Jerry, and then Nika.
Coach Mims mentioned Andre Green as a guy who he's seen take huge steps this offseason. What was the biggest challenge for him when he first got to Charlottesville, and then what have you seen since then?
I think the biggest challenge for Dre was just trusting the process. Right, he came in and his body needed some work. He was dealing with some lingering things, and he had to trust us. There were some things that we were asking him to do in the weight room that he hadn't done in the past. And then once he realized that it was for his benefit, and that man, we're strategic in what we're doing. We're very intentional. We don't just do things for the sake of doing things. He started to see how that improved his health. And I think when his health and his body started to feel better than mentally, right, he could be more engaged. So that was really the biggest thing, was just trusting us, trusting the strength and conditioning staff, working on the things that we're asking him to do to help his body get to a better spot, just feeling-wise. And since then, you've been able to see him really take leaps and bounds because he's not, worried about, his body as much, because it feels better, because, that does make sense now. Those stretches you're asking me to do, the squats you're asking us to do, all of it correlates and works together.
I hate to bring this up, but I have to ask. Preseason poll came out today. You guys weren't treated very kindly. I know you don't care about that sort of thing.
Right where we want to be.
Do you think people are judging your program from the past, and do you think they may be sleeping on you a little bit, and can you use that for motivation?
I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, we're better than we were last year, so I'll take that. Like at least they didn't put us in the same spot they had us last year. So at least they acknowledged some progress that we're making. But it's really hard to tell, because pretty much everybody's got a new team. And so I think some of it is you got to go off of historical data, right? And then you try to look at the amount of returners, right? And then we got 54 new guys, right? So I'll try to use it as some motivation. But at the end of the day, I think this group, this team knows that nothing externally is going to get us to where we want to go. It's all internally, in the way that we think, the way that we approach things. And that's what's been really fun about this group, is to see the guys that are returning, how they've been able to quickly bring the new guys in to kind of the thought processes, that we have, and really embracing that it's all about us. And, I'll show it to them at some point. I'll mention it, and I'll try and prod them a little bit to get them fired up. But that'll wear off quickly, because this is a long season. It's a really, really long season. It's a grueling season, and man, we're trying to play for a really long time, right? So 12 is long, and we're trying to go, how in 16, 17, all right? I think the only thing that frustrates me when it with all of that is when these young men say that they believe in winning a championship, and people tell them that, why would you even think that? Are you kidding me? Why would you play this game if you don't believe that you can go compete for a championship? And that's every area of life. Why would you get up every day and sell yourself short? Now, do we know that there's a lot that goes into that? Absolutely, right? But at the end of the day, the frustrating thing is that it's almost like they infer that they want me to come in and tell my team, you can't win a championship. You're not good enough. What? Right, first of all, champions behave like champions well before they're champions. So to become a champion, you got to think like one. And every champion that we celebrate, that's how it started. But I'm excited because I think we got the best roster that we've had, and we've done some good things at times with less. And I'm excited to see this group have a little bit more to see what we can do. And then at the end of the day, right, if we got more and we underachieve, I'll be the first one to tell you that we underachieve, right? But I'm not going to come in here and tell these young men to work as hard as they can to be average or to see themselves as average. Man, they want to win. And the great thing is we got an opportunity. That's preseason. And I tell the guys all the time, man, I ain't worried about what they say in the preseason. The only poll that matters is the one that comes out at the end of the season. And that's how we're going to be judged. So you can use it for motivation. But what I do know is I've been a part of the process of being at the top at the end. And here's what it takes, boys. So are you going to be a team? Are we going to have the leadership that we need? And then do we have a total commitment to what it takes day in and day out? And that's what being a champion is. And so I'm excited about this group of young men and what we can do. And we know how hard it's going to be. But, man, why would we not believe that we can be playing on December 6th? Right? I think yes, do we know that we want to be playing in the postseason, man? But I want bigger for these young men. And I want them to believe, because if they don't believe, they can't achieve it. All right, think about all of us. You guys are sitting here because you dream big. And there were probably some people that told you that you couldn't and that you wouldn't. But, man, you're here. So we're not gonna let that poll define us. And we darn sure ain't gonna let people make us think less of ourselves. Because, man, we know what we're working towards. And by golly, man, I can't wait for these guys to experience it, because it's gonna be something awesome when they put it all together.
Finish off with Nico on the back.
Going off of Jerry's question, how do you balance that fine line of using it as motivation and then also not letting it be a distraction?
Yeah, I'll talk about it one time, right? Because I'd rather them hear it from me and let me address it, and then we put it to bed and we move on, right? So I knew it was going to come out today, but I didn't want to talk about it before the first practice, right? I wanted to have it go out and them to just focus on the day, you know? So I'll have an opportunity in the morning just to say, hey, boys, this is what the world thinks about us. Y'all believe it? And they're going to say, hell no. And they'll say, all right, then we're moving on. And then we're not going to talk about it again, right? Because we have different mindsets and behaviors that we're chasing. And I saw a great quote on leadership, right? And I presented it to the team, and it really just talked about leadership being mindsets and behaviors that align people towards a common goal, right? And that's really what we're going to focus on. And so if we want to change that, it's going to be the leadership of this team and a commitment to the mindsets and the behaviors, right, that are consistent with the daily progress and work necessary to ultimately reach your goal. That's how we're going to block it out. And you know what? You gotta insulate yourself, and that's my job as the head coach, to make sure that I insulate the coaches, right? I try to free them up as much as possible just to do their job. Let me worry about all the other stuff. You know, that's my responsibility. Try to keep the players insulated as well. Challenge them to simplify their life. You know, in a quote that is part of my DNA, because I abided by it for so many years, is feed the focus, starve the distractions, right? So starve all your distractions, cut your phone off, don't look at that stuff, right? And just feed your focus, the things that you need to do. And that's how we'll balance it. And then if we have issues, we address it, and then we move on. But I think the guys know that in order for us to get to the destination that we want to get to, it's all about the process. And that's been, you know, probably the coolest thing to see, is to see over the years the mindset of the program change from being so, you know, goal-oriented to being more process-oriented, right? Because, again, to get the goal, you got to be committed to something, so your commitments have to be greater than the goals. And so to see, you know, people's mindset change. And, you know, the thing that was also frustrating, and I know I'm ranting a little bit, but giving y'all some insight into the program, what was frustrating is the bulk of the guys that sit in these seats, they do that in the classroom. They wouldn't be here at the University of Virginia, right, excelling the way they're excelling if they were strictly, you know, result-oriented, right? Because to get an A on the test, you don't just show up and take the test. You study for the test. You prepare. You take notes, right? You're intentional in your preparation. You sit in the front, right? You engage with your professor. You prepare for that time to be successful, right? And then you know what? You celebrate that result, and then you know what you do? You move on to the next test, right? But that wasn't necessarily the mindset in football. It was so result, just thinking it was going to happen. No. We got to go back and kind of rewire ourselves to it's all about the process and the commitment to the process. And then we needed to infuse the program with the resources so that they can see, right, the progress, right? Because if I'm telling them that they got to have a good diet, but I'm not providing them the food to eat, then it's hard for them to have a good diet, all right? But now that we have the food and then they apply the diet, then they see the results, and then now they're fanatical about the process. And that's kind of where we're transitioning, and I'm excited about that because that's what I believe is going to drive results in the end is when we have that commitment to the process.